Hey everybody, welcome back to Steve's Garage for another episode of Don't Try This at Home, kids. So anyway, it's another beautiful day here in Western Mass, and it's ice cold, it's below freezing, and it's going to be that way for the next couple of weeks. So if you're in a warm climate, stay there. So we're still on the 35. We're going to be here for a long time, but today we're going to work on the opposite side. I'm going to show you the where we got with this first fender. As I showed you from my last video, I welded up everything and started doing some grinding, and I'll show you how our seams came along, and I'll show you the other spot that's welded up. We're going to work on the opposite side. We're going to show you some templating I did to try to get these sides to match, because now we have driver's side, passenger side, and they've got to match. So that's the challenge. And this is the part of these projects where it could be, I'm losing interest, push it on the other side of the garage. Let's start something new. But that's not what we're going to do. I promised myself when I started doing cars that I would finish each car completely before I started another car. Because if you have friends that have garages that have 3 or 4 unfinished projects in them, you say, what are you going to do with that one? Well, I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get to that. I didn't want that in this shop because I do so many other things. I do woodworking. I'm also, an artist. I do, painting and 100 different things. And I just didn't want to clog my shop up with cars. I want them running. I want them on the road, license plates on them. I can bring them to car shows. If not, I'm not interested. I don't want them just to pile up. So this is where we're at. So now I am committed to this project, and we're going to work through it and get it done. So bottom line is, it's not rocket surgery. So let's get at it. All right, guys? Hope you're all having a great day. Hey, thank you very much for all the comments and the likes and the shares and all the new subscribers. We're just short of 2,000 subscribers now, and hopefully we can hit 2,000 maybe before the week's out or another week or so. But again, I've tried to answer most people that are on there, or at least give you a like. And I love the comments. They're all great. And a lot of guys talk about their projects or a car they had with their father. And it's all good memories. So, hey, put that recliner back to YouTube position and let's do it, man. All right, here we go. So as I said earlier, I welded up that section that we installed. You can see my seam here, and this is the seam going around the top all the way over and in, and this is where I welded this thing all the way down. You can see it's welded all the way down, except for the very bottom here, because I still have to tie all these pieces together with a piece in here. So I did not weld the bottom completely. But I welded the whole thing up. So you can see where the welds stop here. This is my seam. So you can see weld marks here. But that, for my skill level, came out. This is all, there's a weld here. So that's all a seamed piece. So personally, I couldn't be happier with it. I think it came out really good for, again, what I'm capable of. And so now we're on side number 2. So on this side, it's the exact same thing as the other side. And as you can see, I've got some circles on here because, your hands are an extension of your eyes. And, you can feel all this stuff. And this circle here started out like this big. And then I beat it out with my hammer and the bag, the leather bean bag. And then I went through the planisher and the English wheel. I just kept dragging this piece out. Then this side was high like it was on the other side originally, but you can see my crimp marks from the shrinker. I kept saying, I was going to say stretcher, but this is the shrinker. You can see those crimp marks in there good. There, you can see them good there. So I had to shrink basically this whole area down to get this high spot down to match that side. I'm still a little high here, You can feel a little compression in it, so I do have a little bit more shrinking to do. Here's a dinger here, and then this says stretch, because on the other side, so you have to remember what you do on the other side, I did stretch this out and brought this back down. Originally, I shrunk it and got too much curve in here. I've got to bring this down to match this curve. So let's go through the patterning that I made. Then we'll get that side off, and we will try to get that side to match today. So what I did was very simply took cardboard, and see this says number 1 here, and that's a pattern of the fender in a certain position. This is number 2 pattern. Then you flip it over. This is number 3 pattern. So very simply, I'll show you on the camera, then we'll look at it, is number 1, I'm straight in line. This is a straight line across the trunk here. So I made this pattern to match that. So then when you go over the other side, this pattern is on in a straight line there, and it matches that. Originally it did not match. I had a big belly in here, or not an indent, not a belly, but a concave. And so then I had to work this upward and get it to match here. So if you look at number 2 pattern, it says number 2 right there. So I measured down 10 inches, and then I went on a constant, which was my door handle. So both sides of the door handle's in the same position. I measured from the door handle to here. It was like 42 inches. And I made a pattern, number 2 pattern, right here. And I got a little line there, which shows it's got to be right into the edge of that trunk line. And then you take the number 2 pattern on this side. And again, there's the line. And number 2 pattern matches, but it didn't match. This is my constant. And I say constant because this is welded in place, and I'm not going to move it. I'm going to, there's still some little low spots that I'll take the hammer and dolly and pull those out, but this is welded in place. It's not coming off, so everything's got to match this. I was very happy with this shape. It really rolls around nice. Happy for what I'm doing. And then, so I made these patterns from this side, and then went over to that side and worked that piece into the pattern. And here's number 3. And because we're at such an angle here, I put it exactly 90 with the car and put a line on here to the edge of the trunk line. So that's a 90 with the car. There's no air under it. And then number 3 pattern here, 90 with the car, and there's no air under it. So again, there was air under it, but I worked that out. And of course, I didn't do that on camera. There's, a bazillion hours that go into this thing. I've worked on this thing for like 7 hours already. And what am I going to do, 7 one-hour videos of banging on it? I don't know. So again, to get back to what we're talking about, number 1 pattern, and just quick with some, I just trace it down with a Sharpie, and then just cut it out quick. So here again, we're straight in line with that trunk line, and then here's the other side here. So, and that's it. Just worked it out, and where I had my low spots, I worked them up. Here's the number 2 pattern here. And there's a line right there, so it's on the edge of the trunk line. number 2, and then we'll bring number 2 over here. I'm trying to do this with 2 hands and one on the camera. So here's number 2 here, and you can see the edge of the trunk line, and we're down tight. So that's how I'm going about it. I don't know if there's a different way to go about it, but for me, I look at this as it's a sculpture. And being raised, in the art world, I've been very involved with the art world my entire life, and I've made a ton of projects in the art world, and sold my oil paintings and all that stuff for years, and artwork in different studio. But to get this form to match that form, in my mind, not being a car builder, there had to be a way to get to the bottom line. And for me, the easiest way to get to the bottom line was create patterns. And I think that's exactly the way the car guys do it. Basically, that's it. I think it simplifies the process a little bit. So, we talked about, we're going to work on this fender, and that's a little high on that side. And I want to mark it out. So I've already marked this side here, but I do know I have to shrink right in here. And every time you touch something, something else moves. So it's like, the law of whatever. I don't know what they say. Every action, who the hell was that? That was Einstein. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So I'm banging this out, this might be falling down. Or if I'm banging this down, this might be raising up. So every time you do one thing, there's something else that needs to be addressed. And that's it. So thank God for all those geniuses that figured all that stuff out for us. So let's get this thing off. So before I yank that, when I was like low in this spot here, I'm going to do a little planishing on this because it might be a little easier. But I take this dolly is semi-curved in the shape of that fender, and then a slapper, and slap that, and as I'm pushing upward, slapping down, and it's stretching that metal, raising it up a little bit. So there's multiple ways to finesse the steel, and I'm learning as I go. Don't mind me and the coffee, but it's early, and I got to have my caffeine. So we're going to start by stretching this piece. Get this in the direction we're working, so maybe you can see the movement of the actual steel. But I don't want to go too big. You can see down that line where we're at, and this is the piece we're moving. So I just want to flatten that out just a little bit, and it's not going to take much to move that. See that? That just like flattened that right out with 3 pushes. We pumped it up or pumped it down, one or the other. I think that will be good when we get back to it. So this, now that I've moved this, you can see, so what I said about every action has a equal reaction. So I move this down here, and now this is way up in the air. So I'm going to have to not stretch, but shrink that to flatten that out. So I have stretches in there right now. So I'm going to swap that over to shrinker because I need the shrinker in that upper area. So I'm going to pause for a second, change those blades. Be right back. All right, I've got the blades changed out. Now in this case, I want to bring this down. So I've got shrink. We're shrinking this to bring that curve down where I stretch this and I open this up. I don't want to go too crazy, but again, we'll start in the middle so I can keep an eye on what changes. And there is a little bit of a curve in that, but not too drastic. I don't want to take it all out. You never want to go too fast because then you're doing it all over one more time. And that, I'm very happy with that because there is a little bit of a curve down in here. I want to keep that. So that's that. Now I'm going to shrink this area to bring that down. And this needs a lot of shrinking, so I'm going to go over and over it. Move that camera. I think that's taking a lot of that out of there. See that curve? That across there. Cameraman's right on today. And that brought that way down. That's perfect. Right where I want it. See how it's nice and tight in here? There was a bunch of air that I could move down before. Now it's against the steel. I can't even move it. So that is good. So let's work on these other problems. So now we'll head to the planishing hammer, I should say. And we will fire up the Now, another thing I found when I use the hammer here for a second is that when I'm running material through, I have this, so it's not really, I can screw this up, and this rises up, put it really tight against here. Because I'm doing finishing work, what I've found personally, because I've already beaten this thing mainly into shape, that I don't want this hitting too hard, because every time it hits, it's thinning out the metal. And as it thins out the metal gets bigger. So you push it down thin. It's like pushing on dough on your counter. You push the dough down, well, it spreads out. Same with metal. If you're thinning it out, it's spreading it out. So the more you distort that and make that metal thinner, it's distorting the shape. So when I'm trying to shape and take divots and dings out, what I found, again, personally, and I'm just learning on this thing, that if I put upward pressure, I can help push that dent down. And if the dent is concave and I push down on that, it helps push the dent up, because I'm more moving the metal. I'm not shrinking the metal, because there's a lot of air in there, and I hope they understand that. But with a little extra finesse from your body language, you can manipulate that stuff out. And again, my personal experience. So now I've got a lot of that out. It's never going to be 100% smooth. It's, everything's always going to need filler. So again, this is where I've come with this thing, and that's it. So this is my personal experience and how I'm doing it. And at this point, I'm ready to screw this thing on and get ready to cut it in. And the good thing about screwing it in every time, and we've had the discussion about the removable rivets there, but it gets it back to your original position every time, so you're not screwing around, maybe working a different spot, and you're just repeating the move. You're doing kind of the wrong thing. You're just putting it in a different spot. You're trying to fix something that doesn't need to be fixed because you've already done it once, and that's that. Now see, by doing that stretching and shrinking on this thing, it's made this fender like 1/8 of an inch longer. So I'm going to make a new hole here. So if you look down in that hole, see how this hole is in a different position now? So I put a new screw in. So at this point, I'm ready to start cutting this thing in. I think it's looking good all the way down on the edge. I've got to beat this down a little bit with a hammer, and that will be that. Let's look at the other side here. Let me put a clamp in here. So again, with all that shrinking, brought that edge down nice and within, to a working tolerance that I can easily work with. It wasn't raised up 1/2 inch like it was before. So again, tools, shrinkers and stretchers and lions, tigers, and bears, right? And get that out of the way because I trip over it 50 times. This is the same exact spot when I did that side where I was welding it in. I had a little bubble in there and I just kept welding closer and closer and closer and beat that in and got the metal to gather there. So that's where we're at. Kitty cat. I'm going to move this screw. I have one that I've had in and out so many times. It's not even catching anymore. That's what they call a floor screw. I'll make sure I'm going to grab steel. Perfect. Now you can see that's nice and screwed in there. And we're pretty tight all around the top. Over to there. So again, work this thing, 7, 8 hours. I don't know the exact number, but quite a bit. So the next thing is to start cutting this sucker in. No time like the present. Let's get rocking and rolling here. I'm going to grab my cutter. So those are the starter holes. What I'm using is just a small, whatever you want to call it, little reciprocating saw, and that keeps my lines tight. It'll leave a little air in between for welding, but it gives me enough room to get my little clamps in there, and that's that. I probably should have left that on there for a minute. That I should have left clipped on because it's going to be hard for me to saw this here now. So let me put a piece across there. So there's the virtual learning curve right there. So this piece, I should have left these corners on because now I need to cut all this, but I need it secure while I cut it. So all I'm going to do is take the screw out. Take both of them out. And that piece in the back is almost free. So all I'm going to do is that. So now it's secure. I can cut this here. And again, that's the learning curve. You learn as you go. No easy way to do it. It is what it is. A guy with more experience obviously would have known what to do already. But as soon as I cut it and it bounced up, well, I did up. So hopefully you learn as you go, you know? So now we'll start cutting this side in. Blade change. All right, so I thought I'd spare you all the cutting and got it all done. Except for that one piece. So we've got this cut off, and now we're ready to start putting the little clamps in there to hold it in place. And nowhere to start like the president. So looking for a starting point. So just like I did the other side, got these small clamps which go through and hold the two pieces together. This piece of square stock goes on the back, and this holds the seam together. Great little piece of equipment, cheap money, but save all kinds of headaches. Still got that piece in the back there. Gotta cut that. I wound up moving I was starting to cut way up here, and I moved it down, so I didn't have my weld line right against this seam. It would be tough to grind. So we can weld that piece back in after. So, where was it? My first one. So, the bottom line is that it's just a lot of, you can't think, if you think you're going to get this done in an hour, you know what I mean? I'm just trying to make the point of this, you can't look at the panel as one big job. You have to look at it as a bunch of small jobs. So you attack it in one piece, try to get it into a close enough shape, and then you just take it a problem at a time. Like I was showing you how I circle the problems, and then just take them one at a time and work your way through them. And it makes it seem like, it's a little easier to do in the long run, And of course, I'm bleeding again. Hold on one second. So it's a lot of blood, sweat, and beer building these things. Today the Band-Aids are blue. Well, we had a few inches of snow on Sunday. It went away fast. I plowed it in the morning and it just went away quick. Gotta take the screw out of the bottom end here. Yep. When I first started the second side, this passenger side, I'm like, oh man, this is going to be so much harder than I think it was going to be. And, but again, you get through a day and you're like, whoa, it's taking shape. Then you come back the next day and you're like, okay, so where's the problem? It's got a problem here, a problem there. And you just work your way through them. And next thing you know, it's like, holy shit, it's taking shape and looking pretty good. And then that's the reward of all the work. Like, oh, maybe this thing will work out. And it feels good, And as you go back and tighten your other ones. As you move, things are going to loosen and tighten and move all over the place. How's your view? How's your view today? And of course, second time around is easier than the first time because you're learning, So I got some movement here where the saw, I think, you know, as you go along, the fender can move up and down from vibration. So what's happened is I'm going to bring this further down and then I'll cut it into place. Did it fall out? Shit. And that's how it really goes. So I got a piece here I got to get out with the magnet. So yeah, the frustration level, of course, is always a little up there. But when you get through it, you know, the reward is the best part. So I'm going to I'm just going to hit that with the grinder. It'll just be so much easier and quicker. And that'll be that. That will be that. Of course, you could always buy one that's already done. But look at all the fun you'd miss. Okay. That was the easy button. Let's see if we got success. Always going back and look at the camera and see where you guys are at. Guys and gals, shout out to the ladies. Thank you for watching. That brace I welded in, of course, is right in the way. Where's the easy button? Gotta get one of those. All right. Okay, so that's working. And then as you go along, you can see this is out, just a hair here. So we're gonna bang that back in with the hammer as we weld. Little area right there. In fact, I can probably rapid tap on that right now, but I want to get these clamps on and show you what we've done today. Now you're seeing me put this thing on, but before I weld it, I've got to mark it and recut the inside seam. I'm going to put one up here so I can get that bottom to come around. There. So unfortunately, I have two of these left, but they don't have, I lost the little hueys, the little square pieces of steel that go in there. So we're at 54 minutes. So in review, everybody, remember that from school? In review. So now this thing is in place. And just, we need more finessing. Down here, of course, we'll push into place and bolt in, but it all has to be clamped in, right? So after all that wrestling you saw, it has to be clamped in, brought to shape, right? Then I've got to, any overage on here, mark and cut off. I also have to take and notch right here at the top of the trunk opening, 3/8 of an inch, and cut it down so I'm centered on this piece of angle iron in here. And I can't do that without having this clamped in and fit perfect. So this piece of steel literally has been on and off this car, I mean, without exaggeration, probably 24 times. I've put this on, unscrewed it, put it on, unscrewed it, you know, checked it with my little templates I made. And that's another thing. Now that I've got it clamped in and beat back into place, I've got to go back in with my templates. And what I'm going to do is, I went 10 inches, and I'll go 10 all the way down. Then I'm going to split that into 5 inches and make a template for both sides. So taking all that time will make the project, you know, where it needs to be. So that's it. So once again, you know, thanks for coming back week after week. We put these things together. It's the most important thing for me is that I'm learning as I go. And there's no other way. You can watch all the videos, you can read all the books, you can have 50 teachers teach you, but until you start banging this stuff around, that's how you're gonna learn. When I'm done with this project, I'll be 10 times the metal guy I was from the first car I started. The first car I did, I knew nothing, and we'll show you that car as time goes on. Right now, obviously they're in storage and it's winter. But we'll do a comparison from car 1 to car 2 to car 3. And, but I'm loving it. I'm just enjoying the whole process, and it's a ball. So once again, everybody, thank you so much for coming back. Remember, it's not rocket surgery. So banging around, it's only steel. We'll get one end to point A to point B just by force, and we'll work it in there. So thanks a lot. Have a great weekend. Today is Wednesday, Valentine's Day this Friday. So don't forget to buy yourself a big old box of chocolates and have a good time. Hey, thanks a lot. Until then, say hi to your friends, be kind to the animals, and talk to you soon.